Welcome, friends of all designs, to a special episode of 8.5-Bit, which I'm going to call Paul and James Wrestle for Control. We will work out who's top and who's bottom in this series of videos, maybe.
See, I have a feeling that you'll be top, but you'll want to be bottom.
I'm happy in any position, James. We will be doing
mid.
A game club of the new Remedy game Control. Which James and I have both been playing through. This first episode will cover probably the first 90 minutes of the game?
Yeah, about
I reckon, something like that. We're playing up until you meet the character Arish, who's just...
The second time you meet him, we should say. The first time you meet him's pretty early.
You're thinking about the janitor, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes, the janitor is not Arish. Arish is the character you meet in the control room after you meet the janitor.
Yes,
so
yep. No, you're talking about... Yep, okay. Yes,
yep.
I know who you're talking about. Yep.
Rad. Okay, so we're playing up to there. So that sort of is the first sort of like two main missions, and you're on your way doing the third at that point. Mm-hmm. Yes, so James, let's, I suppose, just jump into... I don't have a great game plan of how this game club's going to run. Hopefully we'll have a few up for the day of actual release. But we'll see. We'll see how time permits us playing it. It's been a little bit annoying so far because I want to play more of the game, but I've to slow down to do these.
Yeah, I actually stopped myself. And when I loaded it up before, just to remind myself of what I'd done in it, I was like, I just want to keep playing it.
And when I did that earlier today, I did play it a little bit
You
more.
motherfucker.
But I didn't progress anything. I just ran around similar areas and shot stuff. And I'll get up to what I did later, actually, because it was I thought of note. So, game starts. You are... What's your character's name? Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse Frank? Frelden? Something like that. Fadden.
I know because I have an excellent memory for names, and also I have this notepad written next to me. A few of the main names in the game because I'm terrible with names. So you have arrived at the Federal Bureau of Control, which is a government organization that deals with the paranormal, and that is in the oldest house, which is an old, weird, paranormal, haunted house, which is really... So,
kind of. Yeah, I'm still not totally sure what it is.
Here's the thing that I find with Remedy's like design of their games. You're like, it's time to do we have the really, really amazing technology. Anything you can imagine. Let's just do it. We want to go paranormal. We want all the wild stuff. It's like, what is it? It's like, I know. Could we do a big concrete building, very flat? Yeah. And could there be offices in the building? Okay.
See, it's
like Quantum Break as well. It's like Quantum Break was like, what can we do with this wild superhero story? Oh, I know. How about some docks? And could we throw in a warehouse with that?
I have a feeling things are going to get weirder the more you play this.
I don't know if it will.
I hope they do.
I think, like, I'm not disliking it, but it's also, it takes me to like that Christopher Nolan level of like, welcome to the dream world. I've imagined a sterile building. Okay.
They're not good dreams, Paul.
Not everyone has to have wild dreams. My dreams would disturb many a person, so I guess it's good that we have this level. Anyway, so you've arrived at the building. You're arriving there because you are trying to track down your brother who was kidnapped when he was young by the Bureau, and you do not know why. And I'm not sure what circumstances have led you to finding the building, other than the fact that you seem to have some sort of, as of yet, unexplained companion.
Yeah, and she talks to it like it's the player a little bit.
Reminds me a little bit of...
the
Quantic
Dreams thing, Beyond.
Yeah, Beyond Two Souls. Yeah, it's like maybe it's in canon.
Oh, it could be. Like at this game, I wouldn't be surprised if she was like actually talking to the player. But yeah, I think they seem to like tone back on it a little bit. Like when I went back to it, just playing it a little bit before, I remember at the beginning there's a lot of it, and it's sort of like someone she talks to, and almost like being guided by it. But I don't know. I felt like as it went along, it was a little bit less of that.
With the
other entity.
Voice.
Yeah.
Well, at the moment in the story, it seems that she is trying to keep it under wraps. Like she doesn't want to reveal it to anyone. So we'll undoubtedly find out its nature as we move along the game. So it sort of kicks straight into the plot in a really weird way. So you get to the building, it's seemingly deserted. You're sort of making your way through. You go up to some offices, and there's the first little encounter you have with the janitor there, who is, I mean, I don't know. There's something about janitors in a lot of sci-fi where they're always powerful characters.
Oh, yeah, I'm expecting
he's
him to... Yeah.
He's the real boss of the agency. He's running the whole thing.
Yeah, and something that I kind of liked about... what's the name of the main character again? What's her
Jessie.
name? Yeah, Jessie. Is that she talks a little bit about her background, and she mentions that, she's worked as a janitor before.
Yeah.
And I like that little bit of history they gave about her. It made me kind of more interested. Like, she's been doing various odd jobs, kind of drifting around, I'm guessing, or something like that. I don't think it's often that you'd see a character like that come along and say, oh yeah, I was a janitor for a while. And then they kind of use it as a bit of a plot point of like why she can relate to this guy so much.
I mean, yeah. I didn't get any attachment to that. I was like, yeah, okay. Sometimes we work as janitors. It's fine. Are you typing a bit over there, man?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you just got a typing rattle going on.
There is a ticky clock. So how about I move?
No, it's not a ticky clock. It felt
All right.
like table bashing. But let's not stick on that too much.
All right.
It didn't seem too bad. It might just be me being crazy. Okay, and that's also when we get our first glimpse at basically what is going to become more and more aligned with, I guess, something like freaking antimatter.
Antechamber.
Antechamber, that's what.
Yes.
So in that area, when the janitor appears, if you walk backwards, the area you've come from is no longer there, and the area you've come from is now in front of you where the janitor is. It's different. So you're like, okay, this world is not quite what it seems it's going to be. And I thought that was a nice little clue on, and that's, you go in the elevator and then you get your actual, like, title sort of starting as you go up.
I think that there was something else I liked in that intro area where there's an office space, it's all glassed in with windows, and there's no door, which is sort of like how that world works. Like, it's a constantly shifting world. It doesn't make sense, but I liked that they didn't really draw any attention to it. It was just like there's a lot of things in this game where there's little touches they've done which you don't necessarily point out.
Yeah. I mean, it was... Well, I suppose part of the thing was I was looking for a doorway in that middle office, and that's why I backed up and I found out that I wasn't there anymore. So I guess there, in some form of this dimension, there is a doorway to that office. We just weren't privy to it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I suppose like we need to get up to the gameplay past the actual plot at this point, I guess. But just explaining, I guess, if you're listening to this without knowing the game, this is the basic premise. You could be listening to this wanting to know if you're interested in Control. So you get up to the president, it's not president, what's the director's office?
Yeah.
The director's office, and he is dead on the floor, seemingly from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. But the gun he has isn't a regular gun; it is the service weapon, which is a supernatural object of power. And it calls to you, and you pick it up, and lo and behold, the director is dead. Long live the new director. Reminds me of Futurama when the president dies and Zoidberg has to take over the...
Yeah, and all the paintings or the pictures of the director on the wall, they all change.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah, so they all are of you now. So reality changes that you are the new director.
Yes, and everyone immediately, not only do they accept you as the director, they were expecting you.
Yeah.
Yes. So, okay, that's the basic setup. We've got our gun now, so now it's time into Remedy, gunplay, time to go for it. And what were your initial impressions of how it actually plays as an action game?
Fine. I thought the shooting felt decent. The service weapon feels powerful. The reloading mechanic, took me a bit to get used to because it only reloads. It's more of a recharge. Yeah,
there's no reloading in the game. It just reloads. It refreshes its own over time.
Yeah.
And there is no ammo in the game.
Yeah, it's just an energy bar. Which for a while I was actually mashing reload because I'm a constant reloader in games.
One shot reload. One shot.
Yeah,
reload.
that's pretty much what I do.
What if you need to shoot someone that's powerful and you're one shot short?
Yeah, exactly.
Better make sure you've reloaded.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought it felt fine. The gunplay felt. There's impact. Like the hit confirmation felt alright.
You know what it felt like to me? It felt like every Remedy game I've ever played.
Yeah.
Which is, there's something about the way that they do gunplay, which is it's kind of requires a little bit more precision than most shooters. And the only and this isn't a the only problem, quotation marks, that I have with it is that the games always put you in a way that seems like cool and I'm powerful, but you're not. And if you go running out like this is a real easy action game, you pretty much get shot down pretty fast. So especially when you've got the first form of the service weapon, like really you need to be taking cover, popping up, shoot, like especially headshots are really good in this game. Just like, okay, actually take the time to aim for the head, take them down, because otherwise it's like 6+ shots to the body. I think if they're bad shots, it's even more than that. It's actually very, very locational damage. But like, not 1 or 2 shots to the head will normally kill them. The basic enemies this is.
It did make me a little nostalgic to, for Max Payne, because I feel
it
like...
It felt like Max Payne to me, yeah.
Yeah, and maybe that's one of the reasons I liked it. Like, it felt familiar.
You know what I didn't like about that?
What?
No dive. Now, by the time we finish this game club, we will have a dash, and that is all that matters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the initial experience, I did feel very weak. Like, I think might have been the first boss, or the first control point you go to clear anyway.
And they have like the first like heavy machine gun. Or
yeah, like I think I died a couple of times on that one. Yeah, like and I think it was because I was approaching it like I'm a big tough person.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, I'm not actually. And like, there's no health regen. Like, it's like if you're on low health, you're on low health.
It's funny because it's got ammo regen, which is actually very uncommon, but not health regen. And I think you'll actually probably get some stuff to help with that. But otherwise, you're collecting health from town enemies, which means if you need health, you need to keep killing people, which is, it's something that encourages you to be aggressive, but being aggressive in this game often gets you killed. So you need a cautious aggressiveness to it. But it did remind me a lot of Max Payne with that. But I guess the thing is, at the beginning, when you just have the gun, and the run is weird. The run is like, if you're just holding the run button and you start to move, you won't run. You have to push run after you've started moving, and then you'll run. I'm like, can't we just relax that a little bit? I just wanted to run out from this cover, and I'm actually just walking quite fast. But I was going through that all right. The first control point, as I said, a couple of times I died as well. So they're corrupted areas. You go to the center of them, you uncorrupt them, building all sorts of stuff out. And here's the thing that I did not find out until pretty much when I went and loaded up again today. So when you clear these control points as you move through the game, they become like fast travel points. And so I got that, but I never tried to use one. And I went and back to one today, and that's also where I found out there's a bunch of shit I could upgrade. And quite a lot. And I had quite a lot of, like, I'd done no upgrades in the game up to this point. I'm like, well, I got myself a second form of my gun, I got a whole bunch of extra health and abilities, and there's all these buffs I could build with all the materials I've been collecting. I'm like, the game didn't actually fucking tell me about this.
It didn't really.
And then and that's what I said, I played a little bit more. I just went and found some enemies to try out, and at this point of the game, so 90 minutes in, I do feel like a fucking superhero.
Yeah, that's what I found as well. I think it was the moment you get telekinesis.
Yeah.
That was a point that went from me feeling quite vulnerable to picking up debris and just hurling it at everyone. And what I liked is that it's not like you just pick up a chair and you throw the chair. It's like, no, well, if you pick up a fire extinguisher and throw it, you'll get like a smoke screen. Or if you pick up anything explosive, you're going to get an explosion. You have to be careful that you actually hit them and not anything next to you, which is what happened to me and almost killed myself in a boss fight.
I like that if you target something, you'll pick it up to throw it. But if you target nothing, it just finds some rubble.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever. You don't have to. This is a pretty general use thing. There's nothing you can see, just go for it.
Because it can rip stuff like concrete off walls and things like that.
Yeah.
And I like if there's like a pillar, and you throw something at it, you'll have a big chunk of concrete fall off, which you can then pick up and throw.
There's a good level of destructibility in the environments, I find, which is especially like when you're in a firefight and you take cover and that cover is slowly being eaten away. You're like, well, this was a good spot, but I guess I have to move now because it's almost gone. Which is always a good feeling. Like graphically, the whole thing is really smooth. And the only problems I had with it were things that aren't worth talking about because we're playing it pre-release and they've already been patched out. So nobody's going to encounter those little bugs that I had. So, who cares? They're on top of it. So first bit, gunplay there, starting to get heavier enemies, starting to get shields, and the shields especially are good to hit with the telekinesis, but also basically the shot. So you only get one gun in the whole game, but you get different forms of the gun. So really, you don't have to, but the next logical one you'll unlock because of the resources required is basically the shotgun.
Which I actually haven't unlocked yet.
I recommend going and doing it. Eats the shit out of shields, and it's just fun shotgunning people in the face.
Well, I like with the shields at that point is when they also give you one of your first weapon mods. And that's where you get like the weapon mod of Destroy Shield. So I kind of like that because they can have like different loadouts for different weapons, which you can actually customize what you want them to be. So if I wanted to have my service weapon 2 takedown shields, then sure, I can do that. Or maybe I want to make it so... I think another one it gives you is every time you kill someone, you get a damage buff.
Okay.
So...
I haven't played a lot. I thought the only mod I had it on was something like it gives me like 20% more health drops or something.
No, there's a whole bunch of them.
Maybe I haven't played with that system at all. Again, not explicitly explained in the game. And I only discovered half of these menus when I went back to a control point today and went, hey shit, what are these extra buttons?
Well,
they weren't there before.
I think one of the things that's been fun about playing this game is to just try and figure out what it is. Because I went in completely blind. Like I knew it was Remedy. That was about it. That's about all I knew. And I was really surprised to find that, this is like an open world game. It's it's almost got the world structure of like a Dark Souls game, where like I'm going into an environment, I'm kind of like learning how to get around, I'm opening shortcuts.
Because it's all in the one environment, and whilst it's gated story-wise where you're allowed to go, it does feel like it's pretty open, and areas you have already been, you can revisit. And I'm sure there is, as you unlock more abilities, basically becoming a Metroidvania in that sense. Yeah, because there's
already some doors I've seen which I know I'm going to open eventually, but I can't get to them yet. But it's...
I think the thing that was getting me a bit was that pretty much everyone I was fighting was just a weird corrupted soldier. I don't really know what they are, but they're just guys with guns. And then, just as the area that we finished in, there starts to be some weird monsters, and they're way more fun to fight.
Yeah.
Because they're like, more behaviors, things like when people die, they explode, things like that. So there's synergies that you can play off. I'm like, good. This is going to be a little bit more of, that sort of balancing act you get with a game like Doom or something where you prioritize people over others.
I liked when they give you the telekinesis. And also, I love that the telekinesis is like a giant floppy disk. Oh, God. We haven't really spoken much about the whole object of power thing.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Because, so it kind of works off this idea that objects have power because consciousness of people gives it to them. So this particular floppy disk was the one that held, I think, the nuclear codes in the Cold War. And that alone is what gives it power. And so, they've got this nice... I'm not going to say it's not like comedy. It's more like this more lighthearted approach to certain elements in the world. They're given to you by the guy. There's a research scientist for those the FMV, the video, and I like the tone of them. It's just that little bit campy.
I find, it's. I suppose it's this weird like sci-fi espionage where it's like sort of plays into conspiracy, but it's also got a sense of fun about it. But just on that, I know Remedy can't not do FMV in their games, but when you've got like literally a CGI character standing next to a video of a real life person, like, why are both these things in the same space? I don't understand it. I mean, the only time I really thought it sold was not in their game. I thought it was in Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. And that was like, oh, okay, yeah, this makes sense. And also, I understand the budget. You guys have a lot of budget. And you have all these other animated characters. Why the hell is this guy on screen? And also when Emily changes... Oh, not Emily. Why did I say Emily? Jessie changes to her real character. To a real actress. I'm like, but the model's so competent.
Yeah, that actually really confused me because it had this uncanny valley moment where I wasn't sure when they swapped it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is like... Oh, okay. Like, your model looks pretty good. Like, I don't know. But okay, sure.
Yeah. I mean, like, it doesn't ruin anything. I always
No,
just find
no.
it a weird aesthetic that feels
Yeah.
like... And
Yeah.
I'm so, when it comes to, like, the whole editing and filming of it, like, I know that they want to make film, but they're not very good at it.
Yeah.
Like, they're not awful or anything. They're entirely competent, but you could just do the exact same thing in game and it would be fine.
Yeah.
But I guess it has its own charm to it. It's like its own campy melody charm.
Well, yeah, and I've liked that. I've enjoyed that. Yeah, just like all the objects of power so far. There's just been I like it hasn't taken itself too seriously.
Yeah, because well, you get the telekinesis attached to the disc, but the next mission after your first mission is finding the telephone, which is I'm not sure what it's called.
The hotline.
The hotline, yeah. So you got to go to communications and find this old red Bakelite phone, and that will give you access to talk to the dead director, and potentially other people as well. So you go and find that object of power. But when you're doing that, that's when we get a little bit more of that puzzly change of the universe sort of stuff. Because you go and it's like Magneto's fucking prison. It's like empty space, cube in the middle of it. How do you get to it? And you basically look away and get transported to a hotel. That's the way.
Yeah, and that's your first time you go into like I guess like a dreamscape, where but the world operates off dream logic, which I kind of liked because it's an excuse to have dumb puzzles.
Yeah,
like it's like you have a thing where all right, you got to pull the light switch to open different doors. Like that's kind of dumb, but they make a point of like, well, this is dream logic, and it kind of doesn't really have to make sense.
It also reminds me of Max Payne dream sequences, except not shitty running after bloodlines.
Yeah.
Boy howdy, were they not fun. This was like very fun. And again, it's like, I suppose it's like there's a mundane magical realism to the whole world, which is again when I'm like making fun of the whole Nolan-esque, like, oh, what's really creative, big concrete walls. Yeah. But it's all kind of that. It's like, no, we're fantastic, but within limits. We're, the wild place you go to is a rundown hotel.
It's a government organisation. They've got shit to do. But I like that. I don't know if you've been reading much of the any of the pickups.
I have read absolutely none of them. I hate that form of storytelling.
I read all of them.
I'm just like, this is why I love, even though the idea of an audio log makes no sense, no one in the world does that. This is why I loved voiced audio logs, because I pick up a thing and then I can listen to it for 30 seconds while I walk to the next bit of gameplay. Yeah.
I actually wish they did more of that, because a lot of what they do is just, pause the game, go read the thing. Yeah, and it's like every now and then. So normally what I do is I collect a bunch and then go, all right, well, I'm going to take some time now. Yeah, and I'll read through them and kind of learn a bit more about it. And that's how you learn things like about the their radio show, which is like the Twilight Zone kind of thing, where they're kind of like monitoring for any weird shit that's happening, because urban legends are kind of real, I guess, and if enough people believe in the urban legend, then it kind of becomes real. But they're also using like this radio show to influence things. So it's just like this dumb kind of radio show people call up and talk about ghosts, but they're kind of like the host is kind of using that to try and manipulate reality, like control the narrative. It's just some really, really interesting stuff they've got with like this premise of consciousness seems to shape the world in some way.
Yeah. I might have to try those things. I haven't read any of them.
Yeah, they talk about all the different kind of like enemies. Each individual thing you read, it's quite short.
I do like how as you walk around the world, there's just all those floating people.
Yeah.
I'm always just waiting for them to become activated.
Yeah.
It's like, don't you come to life on me, you bastard. So one of the things as we finish up with the hotline, we start heading down to maintenance, and we're going to the janitor's closet so we can have a chat to him and work out what's going on. But as you approach it, there's
I
a
have it.
thing pops up, optional mission like chase. I'm like, push this button to activate. I'm like, I'm just gonna look here first, and then it disappeared. I'm like, fuck. Oh well, I'm gonna walk that direction anyway and see what went on. And I didn't need to activate it because I walked into the room, the floor fell down below me. I'm like, oh, okay. And I went into like, every time you get like a new ability or an object of power, you go into basically, let's just call it a VR training world. And this is the one that gives you the dash, the dodge. And so I learnt to air dash, and I'm now way more mobile. And the whole time I was doing it, I just thought, why the fuck was this labeled as an optional mission? The dash is kind of fucking important.
Yeah, how many other things are there going to be for me to find?
Yeah, it's like, well, that just taught me that every time I see optional mission, let's not treat it as optional. It might have a very valuable gameplay mechanic tied to it. Yeah. So at the moment, what thoughts do you have? Because at the moment, it's like that's most of generally what's happened so far.
Well, there's also the boss fights, which I think are worth talking about because for me, so far they've been the weakest point.
Yeah, in fact, when you said that, I'm like, boss fights? I'm like, oh yeah, I guess there were. Yeah.
There's some. I think there's like one in particular where you're fighting. It's when you're first introduced to the floating enemies.
I think that's the only one so far I would call a boss fight.
Yeah, because I think there isn't like an earlier one where you fight the first heavy. I think, and these ones actually bring up a health bar. They lock off the area, like it's even like a smoke door style thing. Well, you don't walk through the smoke door, but it's more they lock you into the arena.
Yeah. That sometimes happens just in fights as well.
Yeah. But this one, you're fighting this like corrupted, he's like a technician or something like that. But the boss fight themselves, I don't know if it's because I get a little bit of a Souls vibe from the structure of going from this exploring this world, getting to a boss. I mean, I want it to be like this kind of like more meaningful boss fight. But so far, I don't know. They've been a whole lot of nothing.
It was pretty minor, and also unskippable cutscene when it comes in, and it killed me a couple of times. Like, oh, it's a short cutscene. It really shouldn't bother me. But I'm like,
but I ended up just cheesing him. Like I just sat in the corner and shot him a bunch.
I tried engaging, but it would just made more sense to basically cheese him.
Yeah.
It's like, I sat behind a pillar, waited for him to fire, popped out, threw a thing at him, popped back. Actually, I just shot him with a service weapon. Yeah. Because he dodges most things you throw at him. So I was like, okay. But it might have been more fun if I'd done some of those upgrades by then.
Yeah. I'm just focusing on upgrading my telekinesis now because that is by far like the most fun ability I've got in the game.
Well, it hits hard too.
Yeah.
Most enemies is just a one-hit thing. Or one takes down their shields, make them almost dead, and then a couple of shots with the service weapon. And done. But yeah, so far, enjoying it. I like that I am just opening more and more shortcuts as I go around, so it makes me feel that Dark Souls-ish vibe. But yeah, I am hoping that we start seeing some more complex variations in combat, and those powers start getting crazier. Yeah,
well, they're starting to introduce the different, like the tier of weapon upgrades, so there is kind of like a loot system in there. They've got the side mission list. But not so much
that I hate it.
No, it's pretty like... It's like you get a side mission, it'll say you'll get a personal mod or a service weapon mod or something like that. So you can kind of pick and choose what you want to do.
I have found the sort of collectibles around the place a bit hit and miss. Just like oh yeah, we've just got a pointless door to walk through just because we've put a bit of a resource behind it. It's like, oh okay. It's like, it's not bad, it's just not really...
No, I actually had noticed that, because like it's all keycard based, so you get like, you constantly have your access upgraded.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh cool, I remember there was like a level 3 door back in the starting area, and you go into it and it's like, oh, there's like a resource node and a piece of codex or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, thanks. That's great. I can upgrade some more stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Actually, what I want to know is if they're
going to... Okay, sorry?
Yeah, what I want to know is if they're going to eventually use the safe rooms. Because you know, like, there's all these safe rooms around everywhere.
Yeah.
And they don't have much of a purpose at the moment. I'm thinking they're going to do something. I think there's going to be some kind of, like... big scary world event where I'm going to have to go from safe room to safe room. Because there's a lot of them.
Well, I like the idea so far. Like, the old house from the map is big, but it's not huge. It's a relatively concise space, but it's a it's a small space that can change.
Mm.
So they potentially can do anything with it.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of possibilities at this point of the game. So James, have you got any closing thoughts before we wrap up this first installment of Paul and James Wrestle for Control?
No, I'm really enjoying it so far. I think part of what's made me enjoy it so much is going in not really knowing what it is, and also very keen to see where it goes. Like I'm seeing like the start of systems, which could go in some pretty fun ways.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I'm now that I'm starting to get the systems and I'm starting to actually invest and I'm starting to get a bit of that superhero vibe. Like, yeah, I'm sort of walking through, shooting, transforming my gun, throwing something in someone's face. And also since I've upgraded health, like I don't just die instantly now, which is nice. Boy, some of those. That's one of the things. Actually, going back to the very beginning. So when you first walk out, there's like 3 enemies in the corridor, so you shoot them fine. But the first actual fight you have is a really big open office area. And considering you're still squishy, your character doesn't have the attitude of like being scared and not knowing what to do. But you also don't have the ability to just run out into a big office area and engage people, or you'll just get fucking shot in the face. So it's like, maybe it should have been like more low-key fights at the very beginning and build it up, or maybe she should at least been scared. There wasn't much. There's no character reaction to shooting things, and considering
right,
it's a character-based thing, it's like no engagement at all. It's like, I just had to kill a bunch of people. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
like she's coping with it pretty well.
But I guess part of the fun of this kind of fantasy is that everyone just accepts everything straight up. It's like, oh yes, you're the director. Yes, glad to meet you, director.
Yeah.
Yes, we all wear these weird blocking devices on us. We look kind of like. Remember when they had the Bureau, the XCOM?
They're a bit like that.
Yeah, a bit like sort of some equipment like that strapped to their chest.
They're like the Hedron Resonance something or other.
Yeah. It's a weird game.
Mm.
Yeah, but in a good way.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll have another episode up soon, or maybe right now, because we're not releasing this until release date. So we'll see how we go with this series. But hopefully we'll play through the whole game and have some more thoughts as we go along. Want to say anything before we close up, James?
No, I'm good. Keen to play more.
Exactly. And now we can.
Yes.
We will probably just announce, because we don't know the structure of the game, and no one else has announced it because it's not released yet. So we'll try to play like another sort of 2 hours, and we'll at the beginning of the next video we'll say where we're up to, and if you're trying to play along, you'll at least have a general idea of what we're doing. But yeah, we'll try to do a couple of hours. But yeah, I was going to say like, we'll just make it 3 missions. I don't know how long the missions are.
I don't know how missions.
Maybe 2 hours is 10 missions. Maybe it's 1. I don't know. It's man, fucking games that aren't out yet. But thanks for listening or watching. Actually, it might just be watching. I don't know if I'll put this on the podcast feed. Let's find out. You tell me, listeners. You tell me.
Or watchers.
No. Why engage? I better record some footage of the game too, so we can put it over this. Yes. No one wants to look at us.
No, God no.
I've noticed there's some scars on my arm. Oh, I hope everyone thinks that I'm damaged. I mean, I am. Okay. Thanks everyone. We'll catch you all next episode.
Thanks
and
everyone.
On regular 8.5 bit as well, I guess. Bam. Hey, why don't you click, James?